So Golden Doves class 232. We're on page 140, and I wanted to just explain something a little more in depth. We started studying yesterday about coins and the idea of value. And we studied about the asimon. Asimon means a coin that has no signet. And the it's an unminted coin, right? So asimon means without a, like, right, asymmetry, no symmetry. So asimon means without a sign. Simon, sign, like siman in Hebrew. Um, so, so here's a point. So if you have a gold coin, a silver coin, let's say, and it has a signet, the signet gives the coin value which transcends the actual metallic content of the coin. Because when I see that signet, I know I can rely on that coin, that it's fungible, that it's legal tender, right? Or even if it says this is a shekel coin, I know it has a shekel because it has a signet of the king, right? Until the king started cheating and adding metals to the coins. But that's the idea, right? The idea is, can I rely on the signet? Can I not rely on it? So, for example, legal tender in the U.S. is the U.S. dollar. So the United States of America is basically saying we recognize this currency, and don't worry, you can rely on it as legal tender in the United States. So that's the idea of the signet giving value to the currency, which transcends the metallic value of whatever the currency is. In the case of antiquity, silver coins, copper coins. Okay, page 140. The rabbis and Philo applied the notions of seal in coinage to help explain their own perception of the universe. Oh, this is interesting. How's that related to the universe? Unlike the Platonic paradigms or the Stoic recognizable presentation. So let's actually unpack that just a little. I'm going to repeat that sentence. Unlike the Platonic, where were we? Just going to repeat that. Ah, here it is. Unlike the Platonic paradigms. So what are these Platonic paradigms? They sometimes referred to as the Platonic forms or ideas. Um, and what it is, so you have these forms that never change. They're not subject to time or to change. Physical objects in the world are subject to time. They're not permanent, but here, these Platonic forms, they never change. Um, and each one of the forms represents is a perfect example of a concept or a perfect example of an object. For example, there's a form called beauty, right? So the form called beauty is the absolute essence of beauty and a perfect embodiment of beauty. Or there's a form called justice, which embodies the perfect idea of justice, right? And it's eternal; it never changes. Um, or let's say the perfect triangle is the most perfect triangle. So the forms exist in a realm that is not accessible directly to the senses. It's only through the intellect and reason, not through physical experience, that one can uh, access the forms or know about the forms, right? So, and then you have, let's say, the physical objects in the world. So you have, for example, the form of the tree, and then you have the specific tree that gets some of that formness from the form of the tree, right? But it's imperfect. So that's the Platonic paradigms. And then you have the Stoic recognizable presentation, uh, katalep, kataleptike phantasia. So that's Greek. Um, and the idea of, and I'm not going to repeat that Greek word, which I'm definitely mispronouncing, but it means, let's say, a cognitive impression, or something that your mind can grasp, right? So you have a clear and very distinct um, impression. So, and how do you get that clear and distinct impression? So the answer is you interact with the external world, right? So this is in the Stoic thinking. So you have these impressions, which are mental representations, but these mental representations come from the world around us, right? They're either true impressions or false impressions. But in the case of the cataleptic impression, this meets the criteria for truth and reliability. So I think it's a little different than the Platonic forms where you can only think about it and through your reason you can understand it. Here, it's you have a direct interaction or impression with your senses, and then you reach certain you reach certain knowledge through the perception, right? Um, so that's the Stoic idea of recognizable presentation. Okay. Unlike those things, right? The matbea is subject to fluctuation and multiformity. So the matbea can also fluctuate, right? So the US dollar is very strong. It's a good currency, but relative to what? Right. So when you say it's strong, you mean relative to something else, right? Right. So it can be fluctuation. You say the dollar is weak relative to what? So there's always going to be fluctuation, and alluding to the image of God serving as the original matbea with which God stamped Adam's soul, the rabbis taught. So the idea of matbea is a better provides a better conceptual framework for understanding the universe because the universe is dynamic and changing, and there's relationships between things, right? Um, a good example is global warming, not to get into the politics or, whether it is or isn't caused by excess carbon dioxide, although I just, as a purely scientific matter, I don't buy into the current notions of carbon dioxide being or excess carbon dioxide being the cause of global warming. Be that as it may, as I don't want to get into the politics, but you say, oh, the Earth, global warming. Well, global warming relative to what? Relative to the cool period that we've been in historically over geological time. So, or you say there's global cooling. In the 70s, they spoke about global cooling. Global cooling relative to what? Right? So everything in the universe, there's relationships, right? Where the Earth is this medium-sized planet. Well, I guess relative to large planets, we're medium-sized planet, right? So that's why the matbea, because it has this kind of relationship, structural relationship with other types of currencies. So it serves as a better conceptual framework for understanding the universe. So Hashem, he stamped Adam's neshama with a matbea. Um, and here we have a man could impress 100 stamps with a single signet, and all would be identical. So when a man, a king, let's say, provides a signet to stamp the coins, each one is identical. God, the King of Kings, the only one, blessed be He, stamps every man with Adam's signet, yet no one resembles another. That's fascinating. Um, we're going to study more about this. I know this is a bit ambiguous, but it's gonna lead to an interesting place. But this will be it for today.